Hello everyone. Update in two parts. So the first one is going to be, I'll try and keep it brief just to let you know where I'm up to. And then I will signal when I'm then going to move on to the sort of long-term plan. So for anyone that is looking for just a quick update in terms of what's going on, I'll try and keep it to 5 minutes. And then beyond that, a bit of a longer one about my long-term plan. So first of all, huge thank you yet again to everyone that's contributed. And the financial contribution was just overwhelming, and as I said in a previous video, it gave us so much more time together in that place, and it's impossible to put a value on all of the moments, and the sort of it allowed us, me and the kids, to ease into the idea of losing that place, but not just the financial contributions, everything from people scratching their heads about who they can connect me with and so on and so forth. And even just the little notes of people saying, hey, listen, just thinking of you, hope you're okay. I can't tell you how wonderful that was. But lost the apartment, no big deal. I actually feel quite relieved. It's funny, there was a time when over the last 4 years, I've gradually had to sort of revise what I thought was my absolute breaking point of, gosh, life would be over if that happened. Losing the apartment has meant that I am in debt to the landlords. Not that big a deal. They will join the queue. They're on there, but feeding myself and housing myself is going to be the first priority. Not being able to have my kids every other week and actually sort of, do all the real parenting stuff, bedtime, bath time, that kind of thing. Again, settled into an arrangement with the kids' mum. So every other weekend for a long weekend, I will be in her house with them, doing all of that wonderful stuff, while she goes out and stays elsewhere. That's every other week. And then every week, we still have this long-standing arrangement where I pick my daughter up from football training and bike back with her to the house. And we have dinner together, bedtime, bath time, that kind of thing. So for now, that's great. And as far as my kids are aware, they know that I'm only ever 20 minutes away on the bike. And already there was a moment a couple of nights ago, as my daughter was moving into adolescence, and there was just a real parenting moment, which is what parenting is all about, that both myself and their mum were able to participate in. This is exactly why I'm still here. So for anyone that thinks, well, why don't you just move back to London? I hear you, makes sense on paper, but for various reasons, practical, legal, financial, but most importantly, the impact on my kids and the lack of presence that I'd be able to be in their lives during this crucial period means that staying here, no matter what, is the best way forward. And that moment the other night proved that to me. In terms of what is happening now, it's funny, over the last couple of days, I've been in and out of sort of multi-bed dorms in hospitals. I have stayed with a couple of friends here and there. And this weekend I'm in the kids' house while they're in the UK, sorting through all of the stuff that I was able to salvage. But the plan is moving forward. So in the short term, something that I'm actually much happier with, I think, having rediscovered all these practical skills, I'm already starting to pick up jobs for sort of all-purpose handyman, light builder. I met a wonderful woman last week who has 4 vintage chairs that need reupholstering, so I'm going to be doing that later next week. I'm also speaking to a gentleman who needs someone to come in and do some repairs in his apartment to try and get as much of his deposit back as possible. That's going to be happening early part of this week. The logistics in between, all a bit difficult, but I'll make it work. So the short-term plan for earning money is basically to keep my costs as low as possible and operate like that. Because every time I do a job like that, I learn or practice a skill, which is all going to go towards the sort of longer-term plan. I've also, thanks to a good friend of mine, Danish friend, found somewhere to live, possibly through to the end of summer. And the problem I had a couple of days ago was Where can I store all of my art and lamp making materials so I can continue working on those things without having to spend any extra money? Where can I keep all of my tools? Where can I keep all of my clothes? And where was I going to be able to stay when I'm not in here with the kids? Thanks to this dear friend of mine who moved about an hour's drive away to the countryside a little while ago and bought an old farmhouse which he's trying to renovate. He's also a new father. His partner is a nurse, so he's struggled somewhat. I'm able to kill all 4 of those birds with one stone. Him and his partner very kindly agreed to have me stay out there somewhere on the sort of farm estate. He's a carpenter by trade, an incredibly talented one, so he has quite a huge workshop. So I have a space where I can not just store all of my tools and materials, I can also live there and also use it as a workshop and have all of my tools there and pick up some skills from him. And the best part about it is that it is, certainly until I'm able enough to make some sort of financial contribution, his electricity bill's probably going to go up with all the lamps. But live there for free in return for helping him over the course of the summer finish this renovation project, which helps him. But also, I will learn so much from this guy. So all of these things are just feathers to my bow. And I have to say that although I have always loved most of the work I've done, I'm much, much happier doing creative, practical things. So the challenge that I have now is that tomorrow, which is Monday, I need to somehow get my hands on a decent sized van, Mercedes Sprinter size van, so that I can put everything in the back of it in one load and drive out there to drop everything off and then come back. Ideally, I think for everyone's sanity in this house, I need all of this stuff out. I want to get it done so that I can crack on with the next stage. Thanks to a friend, I have the money to hire a van. Van hire is quite cheap. The problem I've got is that actually they require quite a hefty deposit on credit card, which I simply cannot do. So if anyone knows it has access to a van or something that's available tomorrow for the day, it would be extremely helpful if I could use it for the day. I will, of course, pay for fuel, and in return, I would like to offer you my services free of charge for any handyman projects that you've got going on that might take a day or two, or simply just to clean your house or apartment from top to bottom. Spent a lot of last summer working as a domestic cleaner but for a professional cleaning company, so I know my way around a brush and a sponge. Anyway, that's where we're up to. Thank you once again for everyone that has helped. If you are inclined to help any further, the GoFundMe is still open, but financial contributions, although helpful, not necessary at the moment. It's more practical things I need help with. Also, I've been debanked by Luna temporarily as well, to which the GoFundMe is linked. So no need to make any more contributions to that. I don't even know where they will end up because it's linked to the Luna account. However, 2 things that you can do to help. First of all, the van issue. If anyone has a line on anyone that I can talk to, or a van that they can borrow, or even a car with a decent sized trailer, please get in touch. But the second, and probably the easiest one, is that I have started posting some videos about this journey on LinkedIn, but also I've started an Instagram, a public Instagram channel about this. That's also going to turn into very soon a YouTube channel for the more longer form content, where I will be launching a podcast sort of video interview series talking about all things in creativity, mental health, positivity, everything that I've learned, basically, which will be coming up soon. So the biggest way that you can help is if you see any of my videos on Instagram, please follow me at The Rec Copenhagen, or any posts on LinkedIn. Appreciate LinkedIn as a professional space. So any posts that you think won't in any way harm your professional profile or your business or brand, please, 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 not just follow along, but share, repost. Same on Instagram as well. I'm keeping a video diary of all of this because I'm hoping it will end up in a much more positive place and create something that helps other people like me, and basically just infect people with the same sort of almost idiotic and rather irritating optimism that seems indefatigable in me. So if anyone's got a van or a car with a trailer, that'd be great. In the meantime, please follow along on the Rec Copenhagen on Instagram, and any posts, as many as you can, please like and reshare, as long as you're happy with that. And I don't want to ask anyone to do anything they're uncomfortable with. All right, so that was 10 minutes. So that's the end of that. I completely understand if anyone wants to sort of leave it there, but now I just wanted to give you an idea of what the long-term plan is. First of all, I've got a job interview tomorrow morning, which is a quality controller role for a cleaning company out here nearby where the kids are. Danish is preferred. I don't have Danish, but it's all about customer service, coordination, people management, bridging the gap between the customer and the cleaning team, and possibly also some cleaning as well. So something that I think I can add some real value to. And despite the fact that I'm trying to do all of this practical stuff to get myself off the ground, I will take anything going as a salary. I will give way more than I take from it, as long as it's not something that completely consumes my entire mental bandwidth. So to be honest with you, at this stage, even if Danske Bank turned around and said, hey, we'd like to offer you a senior vice president of sales role, blah, 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 I wouldn't take it, because I am on this journey now, and this is how I want the rest of my life to be. I want to not just survive here, but also build a life for myself here so that I can continue to be happy, so that I can set an example for my kids, and so that I can show them that resilience in the face of adversity pays off, and never stopping being kind, never stopping having love in your heart, never stopping looking for the things to be grateful for in a sea of the things to be sad about, that it is worth it and it pays off. I also, through a very good friend, a recent friend of mine, another English guy, has lived over here for a while with his Danish girlfriend. He is a year sober. Good effort, Kidsy, that's incredible. And he's also recently been diagnosed with ADHD. So he started a podcast. As I was clearing the old apartment, we finally got round to him coming round, and we sat down for an interview with me on his show, which is going to be coming out hopefully in the next 2 or 3 weeks. So we'll keep you posted on that. But that and the Instagram channel and basically keeping a video diary is all part of slowly, while I'm doing this, building a bit of a following to support the sort of longer term plan. It's not the be all and end all. Likes and subscribers and stuff, I will be doing what I'm doing anyway, and honestly I'm too old to work out how a fucking hashtag works, and that, I can edit a pretty decent video fairly quickly in my phone, but anything beyond that, which is another reason why liking and sharing and reposting is going to be so crucial to this. Through that friend, he also works out at a big sort of hospitality venue out by Refn out here, which for any of my UK friends is basically it's by the harbour, and it's a big open air festival, street food kind of place. It's incredible. The place that he works at is a big events venue in there. And he's spoken to the owners there, and it seems that I'll be able to pick up a few shifts there as well. And that can be anything from sort of bar service to more creative stuff. I mean, a lot of the outdoor buildings and things that they've built there, it's a real vibe, and it's all homemade. So that could be great as well. So I've got, I'm still looking for things that I can pick up regularly to earn a bit of money on the side. And as I say, give back more than I take. But with my costs so low, apart from transport and any upfront costs on materials for the handyman jobs that I do, it's enough. Having a roof over my head and a consistent place to stay and a consistent routine with the kids and food in my belly is pretty much all I need at the moment. But the idea is to take all of these things that I've been doing, and I will be posting more on the Instagram channel. Some of you may already have seen some of these things, but over the last couple of years, circumstances have forced me to revisit my creative and practical side, which I'd sort of buried under a pile of shame from 25 years ago when I dropped out of art college. But I've remembered how much I love it, and also actually how good at it I am. Most of it is from recycled materials. But the idea is to turn what I'll be doing anyway, which is basically creating custom sort of artworks and mementos and things, abstract family portraits and various other trinkets, and selling them online, to expand that into a business called Studio Eklund Hallett. From that, we've already got, hang on a second. So that's Studio Eklund Hallett, right? Now, the reason for using the name, my last name is Hallett, the kid's mother's last name is Eklund. They are Eklund Halletts. We've always been Eklund Halletts, and it's really important to me that we honour their beginnings as well, because I think it's a big part of our sense of security and identity to know where we came from. Also, my kids are really inspired by the whole thing as well. They are so creative. I mean, they already swoop in when I've come up with an idea, and they're like, oh, that's cool, and they tinker around with it, and they just streamline. I mean, they're both creative directors in the making. I mean, they can do whatever they like with their life, but they are just, the way their minds work very differently, but with the same sort of creative outcome is just incredible. So that's Studio Eklund Hallett. From that, we have the first product line that I've been working on, which is Lamp. Now, I'll be posting more about the prototypes that I'm making. All of these things are basically from recycled materials so far. And it's caused me to really dive into the world of lighting design, which I actually find fascinating. And I'm in the home of it. I mean, Danish designers like Asger Bay Christensen and Paul Henningsen and Werner Panton. I'm just becoming obsessed with how they do it. It's a science and an art. It's not just about creating something that looks nice. It's about taking this force, which is light, and basically trying to bring natural light into the home. And you're basically taking this, I'm getting really nerdy about it, you're taking this supposedly uncontrollable force that just spits out in any direction, and you are very gently, not in a dominating way, you are very gently channeling it so that you get what you want from it to create an effect which all adds to an atmosphere within a home. And having come from many years in the flexible workspace industry in London, a lot of people in Denmark, when you talk about serviced offices, they're like, oh, that sounds quite boring. But it's only because Denmark and most other cities are quite far behind. I mean, these spaces, the attention to detail, the design, the atmosphere, is almost a three-dimensional hospitality experience. Everything from the lighting to the ambient sound to the mix of different areas and materials, and even the scents used for areas which are meant for focus, areas which are meant for relaxation, areas which are meant for collaboration. I love all that stuff, and now I get to design and build things that eventually can be on commission, done for huge hospitality venues. In the meantime, I'm looking at things for the home, both more sleeker, grown-up, attractive lighting styles for adults, but also some fun stuff for kids as well. This is just this is just a little prototype, by the way, just to give you an idea. I found this lampshade there in a pink. The base is actually from a cheap IKEA lamp, which again I found. The colouring, don't worry about it, it's just a prototype to see if I can make this thing work. But then what we've got here, this is actually supposed to be this way round, and it's part of a set of 3 from a ceiling lamp rig from IKEA, which when I did an apartment clearance job for a gentleman a few weeks ago, he was leaving the country and he basically said I could take all of the lights in the apartment. So I basically snipped them all out and unwired them, and I've got those to tinker with. But I love designing things, not just for adults, but for kids as well. And this one is part of a rainbow range that I'm experimenting with. So the trick is there, the light when turned off just looks white. When you turn it on, it's rainbow. Isn't that cool? Love it. Anyway, that's a prototype for my daughter, which I need to finish this weekend, among other things. But that is Lamp. So the idea is to keep tinkering with prototypes to come up with things that would become a style or a type which could then be more formally produced, sourcing materials. that can be sold online or by commission in a sort of unique installation way for larger building projects. But the prototypes themselves, I mean, they'll all be sort of one-offs. And the idea with those, I think, is you never know if I manage to pull it off. Some of these might be worth some money one day. So I will think about auctioning them off once I've done with them. Some of them are just fun experiments, which will probably go nowhere. But even those will be quite fun. So I'll be looking to sell those as well once I've got what I need from them. So that is LAMP. Out of Studio Eckland Hallett, the idea or the hope is to basically address the problems as I see them that can lead to a person who's new to Denmark ending up in a similar situation. First of all, just looking at Copenhagen, what it basically comes down to is just arithmetic. There are way more people arriving here because Denmark is relatively newer to multiculturalism and immigration than, say, the UK, where, you know, after the Second World War in the 50s, when we opened up to people from what were then the Commonwealth countries, we had that sort of period of adjustment and we're a bit further along in the journey. Denmark, like a lot of European countries, are a little further behind, but they'll get there. I mean, it's, you know, but what it comes down to is that there are simply not enough jobs in Copenhagen for the number of people here. So what a lot of people like me will find themselves having to do is, first of all, struggling for money. Second of all, after a period of adjustment, having to completely reskill. If they decide that they want to stay in Denmark, if they have kids that settle in here, no matter how qualified they are or what their background or experience, the simple arithmetic is it's going to be very difficult for them to get a job. So it might be time to reskill. So I want to get a big space and open it up as a base of operations here in Copenhagen, where we will do a number of things. We will run classes on creativity, simple joy creativity. All of the raw materials will be from recycling sheds in residential developments all over Copenhagen. You've seen all the stuff that I find every week in every recycling centre I pass. There is everything from perfectly decent wood to fabrics, which can be recycled, to lamps and various other bits, you know, things like kilner jars and glitter, which can be turned into calm jars. Anyway, so to run classes for people just to come in and have a bit of a meditative break and focus on the gentle art of creativity without pretentiousness, without judgment on whether it's art or not. All of that is bullshit as far as I'm concerned. Everything is creative and you're the one that gets to decide if it's not going to be, you know, turned into a commercial product, whether it is a successful creative endeavour or not. What that will also do is teach people to reskill. I already have a small network of people that I've been blessed to meet over here, from carpentry to framing to painting and decorating, pretty much everything. So I can bring those people in as well to run classes on that. Once we have a few design items and products that we'll be selling through Studio Eckland Hallett, they will all be very easy to assemble as well. So what I'd also like to do is open that place at a sort of a casual, just turn up on the day or book a slot and you can come in and be part of that sort of assembly line. Now, don't think Amazon warehouse, think something, you know, a bit more relaxed and collaborative with a sort of centre community and network where you'll meet other people, but where you can simply come in on an ad hoc basis whenever you need it and help put together these products for sale. I'm not sure how that will work, but we'll pay, you know, by the item or by the hour, whatever. Just so if anyone needs to pick up a bit of extra cash as and when they need it, even if it's not ultimately going to be their career, that's a sort of a win-win. All of the materials will be mostly recycled as well, certainly for the sort of creativity classes. And then within that space, I want to open up a few things. The first one will be a sort of bougie H&M home style storefront where we will sell our products, but also the people that come in and run these. I imagine at the beginning of a semester, I say to everyone, right, let's go to the storeroom where we've got all of this recycled material. Pick any one thing that takes your fancy. Anything. It doesn't even matter if it makes sense to you, why it draws your eye, just grab it. And then that semester, we will work with you to visualize what that could be turned into, and then we'll work together to turn it into something. All of these things that they produce, can then be sold in this storefront, and maybe on a, I don't know, a profit share, or maybe they take all the money for it. I don't know. All of those items can be sold. And if any of those items end up becoming styles that can become ranges to be sold through Studio Eckland Hallett, then we would simply sell those items under license to that person. So someone might come in and come up with something just as a bit of fun, and it ends up being something that they hold IP over and can earn a bit of income, in perpetuity for as long as we're selling it. So, for example, my man Paul Henningsen, who came up with the very famous PH5 pendant lamp, is held under license and sold through Louis Poulsen, which is a big famous sort of design studio furniture wholesaler over here. And I imagine that Paul Henningsen's estate receives a kickback for every item sold. Anyway, so sort of a high-end bougie homeware store as part of this place as well. I did spend 10 years in retail, so I know something about merchandising. Also, in all of these recycling centres, people throw away plants, because if you're moving away, you don't know what to do with them, right? I love plants. I'm a huge fan of biophilia and biophilic design in the home and the workplace. If you don't know what that is, Google it, but it's just so beneficial to have closeness with nature, even if you're in, say, an office environment or your home or your kid's bedroom, for so many reasons, which are all borne out by decades of research. My daughter, because, she's just a genius. She calls them rescue plants, like rescue dogs, right? So, and I've always loved garden centres and florists and that kind of thing. So we would also open a sort of plant nursery there as well, where a lot of these rescue plants, again, remember that these plants as raw materials will be free of charge. We will enter into arrangements either with the local municipality or with the landlords of all these residential developments and say, look, we're going to take a lot of this stuff off your hands if you can give us access to these recycling sheds in your sort of apartment blocks. We will come around with a van, sort through what we want to take, probably take quite a lot of it off your hands, and it's going to lower your costs in disposing of these things, and it will lower tax expenditure from the municipality on recycling and trashing stuff. But then we will have a nursery where people, I know very little, but I'm not green-fingered at all, but I am learning. I have a very good old friend of mine who is obsessed with it, and my mum as well is the OG of this kind of thing. But there are bound to be other people who have an interest in this thing, or even people that have moved here and had to reskill, that realise that they have a sort of a love or a passion for this, that can come in and operate those nurseries as well and teach others the same. So we can nurse these plants back to life, and again, we can sell them at a reasonable price for anyone over here who is looking for some plants in their home. Haven't got the name for that store yet, but my daughter will come up with one. And case in point, don't think I've got it here. The original name for my lamp brand was just going to be I Love Lamp. My daughter came along one day with some of the sort of stickering letters that I've got lying around the place. And within about 5 minutes, she messed around and she came up with simply Lamp as a name. This is what creative directors do. They take the kernel of an idea from the creative team, and they understand what you're trying to achieve and where you've come from, and they just streamline it, and that's exactly what she did. So I'm sure that she will come up, or maybe even my son, for a name for the nurseries. But our Studio Eckland Hallett will run all those classes. We will use recycled materials, which is a win-win for municipalities and landlords and the taxpayer over here as well. From that bougie homeware store, bougie nursery, what I would also like to do is they do have food banks over here, but take food donations and open up, basically have a food bank as well in each of these places, but one which is merchandised more like a high-end, if you're in Denmark, Irma, which will make more sense, or if you're in the UK, a sort of Waitrose or Marks and Sparks food. People, it will still be for free, but one of the downsides to having to go to a food bank is it just accidentally strips you of any sense of human dignity. They're in these sort of warehouses and you have to go in, and you're lucky if you get some cans and stuff. And I want to open up a food bank with donations from other people where people can come in and stock up on whatever food is available, but do two things. The first thing is to merchandise it like a high-end supermarket, complete with Muzak and nice furnishings and that kind of thing, so that people can come and get their food to feed their family, but with a sense of dignity and optimism, and allow them to sort of touch base with what they're working their way back up to or towards, right? But the other thing is I'm a huge foodie, thanks to my parents. My brother is a much more accomplished amateur chef than I am, but I love food, I love cooking, and I love feeding people as an act of love, right? And I'm also very good at doing things that are pretty effective, but on a budget. So I want to open up a small lunch restaurant there, but also run cooking classes, teaching people how to basically produce a delicious but nutritious meal for them and their loved ones and their families that feeds not just their body, but also their gut microbiome and their brain, and teach them about the importance of these things, but show them how to do it on a budget. And I'm going to call that La Cucina Paysanne, the peasant's kitchen. And I say that as, you know, not to call people that are on a budget peasants. It's an ironic name, which is basically taking what others might throw at us as a pejorative and saying, fuck you, I'm a peasant and proud, right? And actually some of the best Italian cooking comes from so-called paysans. So yeah, there's that. So many other ideas to come out of it. We will get to Eclantalit family bikes later down the line, and also the outerwear range for adults and children to help us combat the Danish weather in a stylish, timeless way, which will be Dum Spiro Sparrow for adults, while I breathe, I hope, and will be, I did have a cap for it, but I gave it to my goddaughter, Lionheart for the kids. So many things to do, and for me, what this does is not just work towards some sort of financial security and stability for myself and my children in terms of legacy for them. And it's also something which will tackle a lot of the waste problem. It will help a lot of immigrants like me have a sense of community, upskill, earn a bit of money on the side. But also, most importantly, for the Danes out there, one of the problems with people like me coming over here and not being able to find work, but having to stay here or wanting to stay here, is that we are completely disenfranchised in the economy. So we're not paying tax. And for a lot of us, not so much me, I don't really claim any benefits as such. I did start claiming housing allowance just before I lost the apartment. But, you know, we could be contributing to the tax base. And as a stretch target, a sort of moonshot KPI for any Danes that want to get behind this project. And I mean just, you know, in terms of emotional support and making connections, not talking about financial contributions at all. But how about this? Last year, you guys and girls had to give up one of your public holidays in order to be able to increase spending towards defence, which is very necessary, unfortunately, with everything that's going on in the world today. How about this? If we work towards saving as much money from taxpayers as possible on reducing the cost associated with trashing all of this waste and recycling and that kind of thing, and we enfranchise in the economy as many people who are out of work as possible, whether on the casual side or as the business grows, actually, you know, full-time employment. And then, of course, all the tax revenue that would come from a company like this. How about we aim for getting to a point where we're able to buy back that public holiday for you, your fellow Danes, and the rest of us, while still keeping in line with the need for increased spending on defence? It doesn't sound like a bad deal, really. So anyway, that's the long-term plan. There are lots of people that I will need help with. Having tried to start my own business in the UK before I realised that my brain has certain limitations. The lesson I've learned from that is that I can't do loads. I'm great with ideas, practical stuff I can do. I'm very good at, you know, being calm in a crisis. But there's so many other things that I can't do. So when the time comes, I will be putting the feelers out for experts in this or experts in that. But that's the plan. It starts out with me earning money, sharpening my skills, doing all things creative, whether it's being, a handyman or carpenter or even just clearing apartments, whatever it may be, whilst continuing to work on these product lines and selling them online soon, hopefully. Over the course of the summer, I've got somewhere to stay, which is great. I've got a place to work from and a big renovation project to work with a good friend who has lots of skills that I will learn from. All of this is good stuff. It's good stuff. Designing and building a website, I can do that. I'm not sure if it's still up, but my business in the UK was Working LDN, Work in London. So works on mobile, but best on a browser. But if you want to check it out, www.workinldn, so WORKLDN for November. No, sorry, WORKIN for November, LDN for November, .co. workinldn.co. You can check that out. So all of these things I'm not too worried about. I will be making as much video documentation as I can as I go. It would be amazing if you guys could do the heavy lifting on that for me by sharing and reposting so that I don't have to become an expert in social media management. The time will come where I'll be able to employ someone with those skills and enfranchise them in the economy. But in the meantime, you never know, all of this might be a documentary one day that helps Danes and non-Danes and new Danes get through this sort of inevitable and quite understandable period of growing pains that the UK went through and other countries went through, bring us all a bit closer together. And one last thing. I am going to go now, I promise. But, and this is where my good friends Ian and Justin will come in handy. We were working on something some years ago, right? I'll need your help with this. And it may even lead to us being able to pick up that project that we were working on for a while during COVID. But what I also want to do in this big space, and then other spaces like it, assuming it goes well, is in amongst the nursery and La Cucina Paysan and the sort of upscale food bank and the bougie homeware store and the Studio Eckland Halleck with the classes and the recycling and that kind of thing. I want to open a sort of shop front drop-in cafe, which is basically going to be a mental health space. It will be for, you can get a coffee anywhere in Denmark. Coffee is very good here, although it's mindlessly expensive and served very slow, and certainly in Copenhagen, usually without a smile. But it will be a place for anyone to be able to come in for a grab and go or a sit down and work from, grab a coffee, some healthy snacks, and it will act as the beginnings of a sort of community that I want to set up called Copenhagen Orphans Club. I've been working on this idea for a while, in my head at least, and that will spill out into more sort of outdoor community events. So things like street parties, like we always have in the UK, things like the Queen's Golden Jubilee, and all the neighbours get all these trestle tables out, everyone cooks a dish, and they sit round and they break bread with each other, because also the foodie thing I want to turn into a bit of a channel as well. But that will be the beginnings of it. So that's also something I want to do. Anyway, that's nearly 40 minutes. If anyone stuck around to the end, thank you very much. I've got a good friend that is going to be offering to edit some of these videos down for me. But in the meantime, please follow along on the Rec Copenhagen on Instagram. And you may see those posts on my Facebook profile as well. Please reach out, connect on Facebook if we're not already. And also the odd video on LinkedIn. Please, not just follow along, but like, but also most importantly, repost or share those amongst your network. If you're comfortable with it, depending on whatever the nature of the content of that particular video is. But that is the biggest immediate help that anyone can offer. But hopefully you've got an idea of the method to my madness now. And this is a huge part of the reason why I'm still remaining so positive, because things have been difficult over the last 4 years, but it's been a slow process of all of the preconceptions or misconceptions I had about myself and my life and what I wanted from it, what was expected of me, what was possible, what wasn't going to be possible, has slowly been stripped away to the point where I have nothing but love in my heart, and the love and relationship with my kids and other great friends around me, and endless optimism and creativity and spotting opportunity in adversity. And the second half of my life is going to lead to a much more fulfilling epilogue than it perhaps would have been if it wasn't for all of this experience. So that's the method to my madness. Oh, if anyone's got a van or a car with a trailer, I can really do with it tomorrow. Right, just over 40 minutes. I'm going to go now. Thank you so much. I appreciate you all.